Gazagarita Siwan Larose-Smith. Initiate out on the travelers, so yeah, the travelers, so Brist you beginning dress like 7, 8 dayo to sa kalacho. Chiya nalzeo beginning dress so. He is to the dalle. To the noon yaro. Sanales to snake out. The need science for this and nase lay it out. For you and a bus is a decision. For you, a sea side to nature, the challenge almost gives us.
Nechalani ahuntel sana. Good evening. Salot ina adlarot eh. Oh my, kuthatoni no halon tathi dai. Thalant akole. Ja, sazi bedanol ni ledi si Willis Janvier hushe. In Taylor's tours in La Lanche, Saskatchewan. Clearwater River Dene Nation band member at the SLU and doing Zinnig Treaty 4 territorial NRC. Way down south home of the Cree Métis Sioux, Assiniboine, Dakota. Dakota, all beautiful indigenous people. Hello, Duhni. Dok out Ozzy. Hello, say hi, say what's up. Doon Tadek, I got a guest for you. Métis Hutlide, Métis Dene, Métis Youth. Base Autumn Larose-Smith Hulye. The Provincial Métis Youth Council Ganadra campaign Ganadra. So, you know, Denetla Métis the Dalion la te not de. You know, I thought, hey, it's always new. I do see on your tew a hell and do register when you see a boss the platform that ilosi on your tion the yeah, questions, you know, it's, you know, hey, Daryl Johnson, say hi, good evening, Sharon Yazzie, all the way up Churchill, good evening, Christina, Josie Union, Wollaston Lake, Julian Sylvester, Alden Janvier, good evening, everybody. So, yeah, you know, I know Wollaston Lake, I saw that, you know, there's some young people missing there, so I hope, you know, Badol Ade, safe and sound. So send some holy smoke up to Wollaston. Say a few prayers. Ayati Salotina Dumbonus Tiut. No, I guess I'll bring her in tonight. Don't be shy. If you got any questions, they excuse me. Ask away. Hello, Autumn. How are you doing? Adlanit.
Hi. I'm doing great, and wow, I'm so envious of your ability to speak fluently in Dene, it seems.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, it's cool, I guess. You know, normally that's how the whole episode will go. You know,
well, thank you
great.
for
But,
speaking in English to me, and I'm currently in a Cree class and a French class at the University of Saskatchewan. There's no Michif class higher than the 100 level, so I'm trying to kind of learn both of those languages and learn Michif along the way.
Yeah, cool. That's cool. Good for you. Well, hey, I'll get you to introduce yourself for our audience here, and off we go. You know.
Absolutely. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Autumn Larose-Smith. I'm a queer Métis young woman who lives in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and I'm running for the president of the Provincial Métis Youth Council election that's coming up very shortly, actually, on November 5th and 6th. I was previously elected the president of the University of Saskatchewan Students' Union, and actually was the first Indigenous woman to be elected into this position in 111 years since the USSU had started. And yeah, it was a pretty huge honor. And one of the things I said was that it was a little over 10 years since the last woman was elected into that role, and I said that it was a big goal of mine to make sure that we didn't go another 10 years with where no woman ran, and thankfully another woman got elected president. So it was an amazing position. I was able to represent 20,000 undergraduates nationally and in Canada and provincially as well. But that's a little bit about me. I'm a dog mom. I'm a hobby carpenter. I like to build things all the time. I like to make bolo ties, and I really love governance.
That's cool. Good stuff. Good for you for achieving that goal there. That's something to be proud of for sure, and maybe we'll talk about, why Autumn LaRose, why the Métis, Youth Council now, after you've gotten to be a president for the USSU.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for that question. Probably about half a year ago, I was meeting with the Métis locals in my community, and really trying to question why I didn't see as much youth involvement within the Métis Nation, Saskatchewan, and just kind of that youth like hoo-ha that I see in other places. And so I actually wanted to work with the MNS, and I've along the past couple of years have been in contact with other Métis Nation youth councils, and asked them, like, how can I start a youth council in my province? And then I learned that we actually had a youth council. That there's actually a youth council right now, and a president of the youth council right now, and I thought it was a little bit shocking that I've never heard of it. And for me, who I think is someone who's very involved in the community, I was a bit surprised. And so a couple of people who reached out to me when the election was announced and kind of said, like, you've got to run. And I hemmed and hawed, and I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's the right time or if that's what people want. And eventually just enough people kind of encouraged me to do that. And so that's kind of the short version of why I decided to run for the Métis Nation Saskatchewan Youth Council president. I think that I have a really outstanding experience, and that just like demonstrates my capacity to advocate for youth on a provincial and federal level. And I think that and my experience in governance, I've been on a number of boards, actually, the University of Saskatchewan board, Out Saskatoon board, Ness Creek's board, and I think there's another one as well, but I don't remember. So I have a lot of that board experience, and that just a lot of energy that I think would be amazing to turn the youth council around, and really have it be kind of this engaged figurehead for Métis youth to look up to and to be a part of.
Yeah, you want to grow. It's all about growing. That's good. I never knew there was a youth council.
I know it's wild.
Yeah, and I know the MNS just recently had another election. I had someone do what you're doing here, and but that's all I knew. So thanks for that, sharing that, and that's a lot of boards you've been a part of. You just you've got the experience, it sounds like, and now it's taking the next step. Is this where you want to go? What do you plan on, or you kind of just go by?
I was 8 years old. I always joke around. My first job was when I was 8. I was working in a women's addiction shelter doing youth programming at 8 years old. That was like my unofficial job at that time. And it's something that working with youth has just been something that I've been incredibly passionate about my entire life. And right now I'm in the SUNTEP program at the University of Saskatchewan. So Métis-based education, and I take a strong anti-racism approach to that learning as well. And I've always said as well that I want to continue working with youth, and not necessarily in a educator role or as a teacher, but kind of like in a more of like an advocacy position, in a way that I can work with youth from all across Canada and provincially. I think would be amazing. That's truly my dream. Being elected would truly, like, I would be doing like what I feel like what my dream has always been to do.
Yeah. Cool. Nazoo, good stuff. That's something really cool to aspire for, and what kind of platform do you want to put out there, or do you have something all put together? What is your platform, Autumn?
Yeah, absolutely. So my platform could be boiled down to three main words that I think truly best describe what I stand for and what my goals would be if I were to be elected. So my slogan is "Act Now, Vote Autumn." Please share it around if you want. But ACT stands for Amplify, Connect, and Transform. And so I want my first one, amplify, being able to amplify the youth voices, Métis youth voices in Saskatchewan, within the provincial Métis Council, within the youth council as well, within provincial advocacy, federal advocacy, and just working together. So I've created a number of goals that I would do that would bring us forward to that. So hosting regular forums and roundtable discussions in every region in Saskatchewan virtually until eventually we can be in person to give Métis youth to give them an opportunity to use their powerful and strong voices. Working with the regional youth representatives to create action plans for each region that would be kind of thought of by that region. Giving space at my goal would be to have regularly scheduled provincial Métis Youth Council meetings and giving space at all those council meetings for non-elected Métis youth to be able to speak on record, because it shouldn't only be the elected officials who have an opportunity to do that. And then also in terms of amplifying, creating a campaign that showcases the amazing successes that Métis youth have in Saskatchewan. And just I think there's so many amazing stories of Métis youth and Métis youth who've overcome hardships and who've been just trying to be a healthier and happier person, or that Métis youth who's going to their very first Mitzvah class. Maybe they're only 16 years old and they're going to like their Friendship Center's Mitzvah class, like showcasing like look at this amazing person who's taking culture into their own hands. So that's the first part, amplifying Métis youth. The second one would be connect Métis youth to each other, connect them to services, and connect them to culture. So goals that I have in there are it would be a dream to start a Métis youth summer camp that focuses on cultural and historical teachings, leadership development, relationship building. And I think this would be an amazing opportunity as well to actually create a lot of jobs for Métis youth to work at the summer camp, older youth working with the younger youth and working with elders and building that connection. Also creating a provincial Métis youth conference, which is something that a lot of other provinces already do annually. And I'd love to see that happen, just to see that more involvement within the MNS. And I think that would also add to increasing the Métis Nation citizenship registry as well with these opportunities. And I'd love to explore partnerships that support the health and well-being of Métis youth and work with elders and knowledge keepers to streamline some program development as well, connecting youth to culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last part of my platform really quickly is transform. So transforming the Métis Youth Council, transforming it into something that Métis youth can recognize and can go to when they need support and when they're looking for advocacy and when they're looking for leadership or when they're looking for connection, they can go to the Métis Youth Council. So transforming it into this like really strong driver in the province and hopefully federally as well. And then second part of that is oftentimes, and I think women and queer youth and people, queer and women in general, often feel like these aren't necessarily safe places for them. As a queer Métis woman myself, I felt that. And so wanting to create a space, transform the space and make it LGBTQ2S plus friendly, make it a safe place for women. When I was elected president of the USSU, I actually was developed an anti-racist memorandum of understanding with the university's president's executive committee. It's the first MOU of its kind in Canada with a university, and it led on to creating some pretty significant roles within the university dedicated to anti-racism work. And so using that passion and those skills and those connections to really transform what the council could be.
Mm-hmm. That's some good stuff. You made some good points there. The LGBTQ two spirit. We'll get into that a little. I wanted to touch base on that. Because I like how you identified at the beginning. You just out there. You said, okay, I'm a queer woman. That's good. I want young people to be able to see that, and we'll talk about more about that a little later on. But how do you connect north and south? I understand there's so many regions, Métis regions. I believe the La Loche area is Métis number 2, maybe. I'm going to say 1 or 2. How do you connect, north and south? How do you plan on doing that?
Yeah, I think so. In my I work with We Matter, which is a national youth-led nonprofit dedicated to mental health support and resources for Indigenous youth in Canada. And something that I really love about We Matter, which is something that I would bring to my role as president, was diversifying the elders and the knowledge keepers that we bring into the spaces. And so when I'm talking about these cultural events, or the summer camps or leadership conferences, really creating a space for if we're going to have elders, maybe we'll have an elder from the north and an elder from the south, and different people who identify differently through the gender or their sexuality, to really kind of broaden people's their perspectives and their learnings. I think by just hopefully having more people together and sharing their stories and making sure that their support's there, that I think we'd be able to really connect Northern Métis and Southern Métis, and creating a space for learning.
That's good. Very, very open-minded, not to knock on anyone or anything, but a lot of times, we have these gatherings. It's very Cree, not much Métis or Dene, but which is understandable because, Saskatoon is kind of central, and that's a Treaty 6 territory where a lot of Crees are. But recently, I was a part of the language SICC language keepers, I think, but there was a lot of Dene representation. And I like how you pointed out you want to bring everyone in and not just locally. That's
Yeah,
good involvement.
absolutely. I think it could be really cool, like when I'm thinking about, this Métis youth summer camp, and we could have, like, even just having an elder from the south and an elder from the north, like walking together and like talking about like the medicines that they, if we're going on a medicine walk, and like sharing like, oh, these look differently up north because, because the climate's a little bit different. Usually these plants are shorter, these plants are taller, and that's how you can identify, and really just like sharing those teachings together in a very in a space that's like dedicated to relationship building, I think would be key.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Nazun, good stuff. How do you plan on, you talk about amplifying, the young people and all this stuff. The Métis Nation, their registry it's really new. It's not that old. They've just brought it in recently, I believe.
Yeah,
And
I volunteered and worked actually the first election where the registry was like really fully a thing, to the not the last one, but the one before that. Yeah.
mm-hmm. So how do you or get more people out to say, hey, I'm Métis, maybe like in the north, like my mother is Métis, I'm First Nations. There's a lot of that those scenarios or situations among families where some people can't be um, First Nation, so they're just. When I was growing up, I just thought it was non-status.
Mhm.
How do you get people to say, "Hey, I'm going to register and I'm going to be recognized as a Métis citizen"?
Yeah, I think, and to be honest, I wasn't registered until recently. I was actually applying for post-secondary funding and support until I registered. And even though I've been a volunteer and raised by my Métis community in Saskatoon and working for local since I was 18 years old, the first, since I could work, and I really didn't see a benefit in registering. I didn't know like how it could benefit me. And I always said, like, people just register when they want money. And I'm starting to learn how important it is to register, to be connected, to have a connecting force and a connecting driver for Métis youth. A couple people, when the election was announced, they messaged me directly and they're like, "You should run." And I was like, "How'd you know about this election?" And they shared that they got an email from the MNS, and that's how they learned. And so even being able to be registered, to get that information and to know what's going on, I think is really important. But I think a lot of trust building and a lot of relationship building has to take place, right? So when they're seeing like, oh, I really want to be a part of those cultural teachings, and I'd really love to learn more about advocacy and the work that they're doing. And so just by being like seeing those successes and seeing that hard work, I think that's going to bring in a lot more people to say like, yeah, I think it's time that I register. I really want to, learn more about this and have access to uh, a community that is a lot greater than mine.
Yeah. Some good services too amongst, my daughter is a Métis. I've called about, registering, but I just thought, she's 9 years old. I thought wait till she's a little older. But
Mhm.
maybe she might be running for president one day. So watch out, you never know.
Oh, I would love if she did one day.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know, maybe she'll be into that stuff. She's a little shy to talk. Yeah, yeah. I like how you just you feel a part of, I wanna tell that to the audience, when you register, you just feel a part of hey, I'm Métis,
Mhm.
and if you look back, as indigenous people, we have suffered many things. Maybe there's some people out there that don't want to identify as being indigenous because of these, and how do you bring those people in too? It's there's so many little things that you kind of have to look at and be open to having these difficult conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And so actually, when I was president of the USSU, and so it's kind of similar in a way. So all the colleges have an elected kind of official that represents the students of those colleges. So arts and science, nursing, business, and so I actually made it my mission that I would have a town hall with each college to hear about any concerns that they're having, or their wants, their wishes, their successes, and then I was able to write a report on all of the colleges that met with me, and I shared that publicly with administration within the university, and really anyone who wanted to see it. And I think through these roundtable discussions and town halls and forums with each region, and learning, one region's struggles, or wants or needs, could be completely different from another region's, or they could be the same and they just don't know that because there's not that connection. So working together to figure out solutions to that, and hopefully that's going to create a lot of trust and a lot of healing as well in communities, to feel like they're able to identify with their Métis side, and or they want to, or even that they want to be more connected, if they know they're Métis but they've always been a little bit scared or even embarrassed. I know growing up, and since I started in Suntep, I was always, although like I said, I was raised, my first job when I was 8, working for the local, working in the women's shelter. I knew that I was Métis my whole life. My mom always had a sash hanging on her bedroom door. But I wanted to have like more of that. I wanted to know more, and I was always embarrassed that I didn't know more, or I should have had certain cultural teachings, and I was scared to and embarrassed that I didn't. So just by being involved and seeking out opportunities, I think that it made me more aware, but it also made me more proud of my identity as well.
That's good. I think a lot of indigenous people are missing that identity piece, and registering as Métis can be a start to finding that little piece of identity. That's good. You made a point there. Like some communities don't have certain resources as some do. Like in my mind, like I was raised in the north. To me, the south, they just have everything.
Mm,
Like that's my thinking because I was raised that way. We're kind of challenged, economically, socially, even healthcare.
mm.
How do you bring that to the north? That's how many regions in the north that you got to work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a really important factor about that I just want to say is that I'm not from the North. And so it would mean working really closely, especially like building the Provincial Métis Youth Council into a really strong driver. So working with the elected Métis youth from those regions and working with the Métis youth from those regions to really lead the way in that, and doing everything I can to support that. I'm not going to go into your community and say these are the things you want to do. I'm going to listen, hear what you have to say, and do everything I can to make those things happen for you. I think that's really important.
For the youth, yeah, for sure. They'd be like, "Hey, who are you?"
Yeah.
There's been people coming in here for 200 years and doing this here.
Mhm.
You know that
Absolutely.
that's 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 a good point you made there. You don't want to be very invasive in anybody's space. So
Mhm.
good, good for you. That's a lot of good stuff. You talk transform. You kind of throw that all in there. When I ask you these questions, and you kind of see how it would all work out. You know, it's a lot of work to put in. Where do
Absolutely.
young people go to register now to for the MNS?
Yeah, so the Métis Nation Saskatchewan, if you just Google that, and hopefully as well, there are in-person places in your community to help you through that process. I actually went in person to help me through my application process. I just felt it was a little bit easier. But you can go on the Métis Nation Saskatchewan website and look up the citizenship and find there's an application online that you can do and mail it in if you don't have access to handing one in directly. And then for any Métis youth who aren't citizens, I would encourage them to do that as fast as they can, because voting is on November 5th and 6th, and you do have to be a registered Métis youth to be able to vote in the provincial youth council election.
Mm, you only got a couple weeks.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what if I register right now? Can I still vote?
I'm not too sure what the registration process looks like for the Métis Nation Saskatchewan. The election portion is held separately. But I do know that they're kind of working harder on youth applicants who could possibly vote in the election. So they are trying to get as many youth applicants through as possible so that they're able to vote on November 5th and 6th at mnselection.ca.
Yeah. Just maybe if they have like proof that they registered, is that how it works?
Yeah, I think they just need their number.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. That's good stuff. What's the Métis youth age? Who can vote?
So Métis youth are considered 16 to 29. So if you're 16 to 29, you'd be able to vote in this election.
Yeah. Okay. It's not the 9 to 18, or you got to be 16 to 29. Cool. Good
Hmm.
to know. I'm gonna, that's for my daughter. I gotta know some of this stuff too. You're still learning, because, like I said earlier, all of this is new for the Métis Nation. There's the whole council thing, even being registered, and even I think they're working on land claims and all this stuff.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Traditional, culture wise, and everything. So, we're always learning about the Métis. I want to touch on, I know you talk about working with everybody and listening, and, mental health is a big thing these days.
Hmm.
And, right here, Dene Yati, I always like to touch on mental health. How do you plan on bringing, these resources to communities in everywhere? That's a lot of ground you got to cover, for people here. How do you plan on doing that?
Yeah, so actually, 3 years ago, I applied and was successful in becoming an ambassador of hope with We Matter, and so that's a national position, but focused for me in Saskatchewan. That's where I live, and what an ambassador of hope is they are healers and change makers in their community. So we were given training on how to have workshops and share resources that focus on culture, hope, healing within our own communities, and resources to do that. Actually, next week I'm giving I'm actually hosting a workshop on how to use a support worker toolkit to support Indigenous youth and mental health to the government of Northwest Territories. So all the clinical counselors, I'm actually going to be training them in how to support Indigenous youth with this mental health resource. And so throughout my years, I've built connections with these national and provincial figureheads that work really hard to support Indigenous youth in their mental health through resources, resource development, outreach, and workshops, and just connections and services. And I think that I would have a really great ability to bring that all and to use my experiences, use my skills, and really just create specific mental health resources for Métis youth and youth in Saskatchewan as a whole.
Good stuff. I would like to see someone in the north be part of Ambassador of Hope.
Yeah, we have we actually had I think we have 5 ambassadors of hope in Saskatchewan, and so all over from all over the province. I think there's 33 in Canada, and so we're trying to get as many as we can in each province. And one of the reasons being is that like I said earlier, is that if I'm somebody who's never been in your community, I'm not going to go to your community and tell you how to fix your problems, right? And so really just capacity building. So what I would do is work with the Métis youth and the youth in those communities, show them these resources, show them these toolkits, teach them the workshops that I know how to do so that they can do them themselves, and they can do it their own way with their own experiences for their own community.
Mm-hmm. That's good. It's always about, as an addict myself, if there wasn't an addict listening to me, I wouldn't be like, what do you know?
Mhm.
It's the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. So
and
all about capacity building. I always say, like, I don't, even though it was a huge honor to be the first Indigenous woman, it sucks that I was the first Indigenous woman. It was 111 years. That means that 111 years an Indigenous woman was an elected president. So I'm really proud that I was able to um, to be that first through the work that I've done, but I never want to be that first again, right? So if I can help in building up Métis youth all around Saskatchewan to all work collectively and be leaders and be change makers, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. I don't want to do it all by myself.
No, you're gonna have a lot of people that you're gonna have to work with for sure, because the north ain't small, and they're very scattered. You're gonna have to drive a lot of dirt roads to get to these towns too. So keep that in mind, and there's staying on topic of mental health, and bringing in the LGBTQ, the Two-Spirit community as well. You the Métis and the Two-Spirit, you're kind of putting two communities together. It's LGBTQ is a very touchy thing, and because a lot of us, we don't know
Mm-hmm.
these terms and how people identify. And not only that, it's the years of oppression, I guess, from other people. It's kind of the same thing we've suffered as Indigenous people. Going forward, how do you make this, I guess, open, or just be out there for everybody, make it easier?
I'm just going to do something that just one second. This is something that I normally always do. So I just changed my name, put my pronouns on the screen.
Yeah.
And like you said, when I introduced myself, I said I'm a proud queer Métis
Mhm.
youth, right? And so I think there was a time in my life where I was scared to talk about the fact that I'm queer, and I have a lovely fiance, and she's amazing. And I would try and I would bring it up in some, to one group, but I'd be really scared to bring it up to another. And I think one way that I can hopefully, create a ripple effect is just by being open and proud of who I am. And maybe someone on this podcast, who's watching or who's listening goes, wow, I can't believe, she said queer. Like, I can't believe that's how she identified. I wonder what that means, or I'm going to look it up. And, maybe I feel like that. I want to use that term. And so, and showing my pronouns on the screen, bringing that to transforming the Métis Youth Council into a place where the other regional representatives can do the same, and be proud of how they identify, and just creating a ripple effect. It starts with one rock throw in the lake, right, and then you're going to see all those ripples, and so if hopefully if I get me elected, and I'll do my best to get the provincial council, the adults at the table, I suppose, even them putting up their pronouns, and it can't just be on the youth as well, but working with the older people in our communities to try and be more accepting.
Yeah, and that's one thing too, to be more accepting. I mean, we don't need to be putting our pronouns up, but to have the, to be in a space where everyone is accepting.
Absolutely.
That's good. And because I've learned in university too that the two-spirit in the indigenous culture, they're actually pretty a big part. They're considered sacred, because they could be in two worlds. We went you go in the sweat lodge, two-spirit person can be in both sides of that sweat lodge, and that's a good point to make. And when you're talking about that, the community, and all of this is has to do with mental health. Young people, like you said, probably scared or suffering from just maybe holding that in. You see that everywhere, and how do you engage? Try to, I understand that you just be open about it. How do you just reach out more to those people?
Yeah, and so I think working with elders and youth and knowledge keepers in the community, create different types of programs and workshops, and part of the job description of the president of the youth council is actually going into communities, and so being able to facilitate really healthy discussions. And so maybe one day when I'm meeting with when I'm doing the roundtable discussions, the topic could be on mental health specifically, or specific aspects of mental health or health in general, so that I can create an environment where, okay, we're going to actually talk about these things, and what would you like to see we do, or let's try something new, and hope, if it doesn't work out, we'll try something again. I think I have the ability to be creative in that aspect, and I also have the ability to engage other people. In the summer, I challenged myself to write an affirmation every single day, but I didn't just do that on my own. I opened it up to people on social media, and I said, hey, does anyone want to do this with me? I'm just doing it for fun. But if you do it, like, I'll send you a present in the mail or something like that, just to see if people want to join. And it got to the point where people were messaging me their affirmations every day. And there'd be a day where I forgot to write it, and they were messaging me theirs. And so just creating this like little community where we took 1 second of the day to think a positive thought. So doing things like that I can really do on a provincial level would be amazing.
Yeah, to get it out there. Social media is a huge platform nowadays. Especially in the past year of coronavirus, and who knows how far into the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Earlier, you mentioned, some people might want to be, and this is touch with the mental health and identity as well. Some people might want to get registered just because people think us indigenous people, we get everything for free.
Mm.
How do you educate those people if you're elected, and then maybe help some identify, help with their identity, and instead of, hey, let's help you recognize yourself as a Métis, instead of just wanting something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that comes through providing a lot of historical teachings alongside cultural teachings. And so something that when we are on our healing journey that I think we often forget is connect to our culture, connect to our culture. And I think that's incredibly important. But something that I think we often forget, and maybe this is the student teacher in me, is we forget the history aspect of as well. So like why is it that we think this way when we traditionally haven't and we historically haven't? And talking about colonization and its effects on communities and how it has created this unconscious bias or even conscious bias for people. So connecting or learning about our historical like what our history is just as important as learning our culture, and hopefully through that we're unlearning these negative stereotypes and biases that we may hold for Métis community and Indigenous community in general in Canada and in the
Mhm.
world.
Yeah. How do you bring that to people, or like what do you plan on doing? Like, it's when you're dealing with Métis, like you said earlier, I'm not just going to go into someone's community. You might have someone who's because you know let's say like skin color wise,
Mhm.
if there's someone who's just totally brown, they really look indigenous, and then there could be somebody who's doesn't look indigenous. They might, we might clash because it happens. That,
Absolutely, and I think yeah, I think that's really important. So first touching on like how like the actual actions that I plan to do, and so thinking about things such as like the Métis Youth Summer Camp, and so in that I specifically mentioned cultural and historical teachings, and providing a fun environment that we're hey, come to the summer camp, this is going to be amazing, we're going to learn languages, we're going to learn medicines, we're also going to learn leadership skills, and we're going to learn historical the historical teachings and context of the land that we're on, and thinking about educational programming and supports as well that we can really bring. And I think that in an accessible and fun way, because if you have if you have a bias or a negative stereotype, I think it can be uncomfortable to challenge that a little bit. So making it fun and accessible, and then eventually at the end, you don't even know like that you're thinking differently, right? And
yeah,
the second aspect that you mentioned that I think is really important, I am white. I'm a white person, white passing, right? And I know that my Métis family members who have darker skin than me are going through life with struggles much more apparent, right? I've never been racially stereotyped in my life except one time when I had my Métis sash bag on in a store, and that's the first time I was peacocking my Métis-ness, and that was the first time I was being racially stereotyped in a store. But I know that's not the case for people with darker skin, and so even just being able to openly talk about that within our communities and share those experiences, I think is going to be really important for learning.
yeah, that's good. I like to try to bring all the difficult conversations out, and
Mhm.
I'm glad you're very open, and you just you speak about it like it's easy for you. I like that. Good for you. I would just we've talked a lot of good things here. If there's anything else you want to add or talk about, feel free to if maybe we miss something, or it's all up to you. And you know if not, I want to touch on some healing part of this this campaign you got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess just speaking specifically to the experience that I have that I think is really important to know, to have faith and trust in me. Because really, I consider this election to be applying for a job. I'm applying for the position of president for the youth council, and Métis youth are the ones hiring me. So you need to know that I'm qualified, and you need to know that I have the ability to represent you provincially and federally. And so I, like I mentioned, I do have a number. I sit on a number of boards and have had that experience. I make sure that I'm always well aware of current issues and love reading about policy. Was able to develop the MOU with the University of Saskatchewan. I also worked on the formalization of UCREW, which is the university. It's the U15 advocacy board, and we actually worked together virtually through Zoom through the COVID times, and held our national lobby week with. I met personally with over 50 members of parliament, and we actually saw successful advocacy for that we're working on to support students in U15 programs actually come out in the federal budget. We saw the successes laid out in the federal budget, things that we were advocating on. And so that I know I have the abilities to be a strong leader and advocate for Métis youth in the community. And I just want to share that because I think we in these elections, we forget about the fact that, if I'm elected, this is an actual job that I'm going to have to be working. And I really want Métis youth to know that I do feel qualified and I know that I'm qualified for them to be proud.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff, Nezu. I want to. Recently, I myself am in recovery, and this is a one-day thing. Recently, someone reached out to me from the north, and they said, "Hey, I'm into this substance abuse. I won't say anything, but how do I get help? Where do I go? Like I grew up in the north. I wasn't in that situation when I had enough, but I learned more and more. It's not easy for the people of the north, the young people, especially. We're dealing with addictions now. How do you help? Uh, maybe I'll ask you a little differently. Are you going to bring it to them because there's going to be funding involved and money in this election to work on some healing in the north?
Absolutely. I think when I was actually part of a volunteer group for Ness Creek, which is a music festival, and what that volunteer group did, it's called Safe Haven. And so I was naloxone trained, and I still am naloxone trained, and I carry a kit with me whenever I go out, or especially if I'm out where I know that substances are going to be used, making sure that I have the professional training to help in those instances. And so even something, it's the training itself was 30 minutes. And so how wonderful would it be to get a naloxone kit and into the hands of I think every single person should have one, even if you never use one, even if it expires hopefully you never have to, but something simple like that could save it can save lives, and it has saved lives. So working to bring that educational knowledge and resource. And I think another part too is really working to empower Indigenous youth from a young age. So being in a position where you might not even want to do a certain substance, but you're feeling a little bit pressured. Feeling empowered to say no, and trusting in yourself and being brave and courageous enough to say no when it can be really hard, when it could be a loved one or a best friend who's trying to get you to do this, right? Being empowered to say no. And then another one is working on creating healthy coping mechanisms outside of that substance use. So I know, like you mentioned, that you've have been addicted to substances and are sober now, and I think that's amazing. So you obviously know all of these really important tools, but I think just working to putting money where my mouth is and saying, like, let's do a tour where all the high schools, everyone and all the community centers get, like, we're going to do like a full like naloxone training, drive, like see how many naloxone kits you can do. That would be amazing. And really doing it so it's like, maybe we could even say like, putting in like a prize, like the community that gets the most naloxone kits, we're going to come and we're going to have like a big community event, and like really celebrating people taking action for their health and for their community's health, so that hopefully more people want to do that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I hope the youth who see this go out and register, go online and register, so that all these things can happen when it comes to funding. Okay, the more youth Métis registered in the north, they're gonna get a bunch of money, and more, that means more resources, easily accessible, all that good stuff. And when do the youth get to vote there again?
So voting is on November 5th and November 6th, so coming up really shortly. It ends at 7 p.m. on November 6th, and we should have the results shortly after that.
Cool. Are you nervous?
Oh, I'm definitely nervous. I know, I don't know all of the candidates right now, but I know there's a couple candidates right now, and I hope everyone has an opportunity to look to look at their campaigns. But I definitely feel confident saying that I have the most robust platform, and hopefully there's more candidates that we learn about. It would be great to see a really big election raise with a lot more awareness about the council that that exists that none of us ever knew existed.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. It'd be, you know, even a Facebook page if they had one. You know?
I promise you I'll make a Facebook page if I get elected.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on now, get with the times.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
something that should be done. Like, how
I
come we
agree.
didn't know? Even though I'm not Métis, I mean, I could have seen something. But yeah, I like everything you had to say. You're very, a young lady is very driven, and
Thank you.
it's always taking that step. It sounds like, and you've been a part of many good boards, and if there's anything else you want to add to, tell the youth of northern Saskatchewan, I'll leave it up to you, and
Sure.
we'll finish her off.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. If you're tuning into this episode, thank you so much for listening in. If you tune into this podcast at all, thank you so much for taking action and learning your language. It's absolutely amazing. I hope that you go if you're on Facebook or Instagram. I hope you look up Autumn Larose-Smith for PMC president. I should pop up there. Feel free to message me. I have my appointments on, so you can book an appointment. I'd love to chat. I'd love to meet you, and I would love if you voted in this election on November 5th and 6th.
Oh, just in time.
Yeah.
PM
My dog's meds. I have to give my dog meds at 8.
PMYC president. Cool. We'll
Yes.
put that up on the board there, and when people see this, they will be able to say, "Hey,
Yes. I don't. Where is it? Go to that page.
vote
Learn more
for
about it.
yeah, vote for Autumn." Well, I want to say thank you, for even considering Dene Yati to be doing this. It's been good, nice talking to you for sure. Maybe, you know, after we see the results, we can chat again, and then we can talk, you know,
I would
more
love
about
that.
how you're gonna bring everything to the north.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, must see you, Autumn. We will chat with you later. All right, salot inakuit Autumn Adila. Ja, så nu har jag inte till but in campaign ga. I want to youth the rest even adults no has can and register it out so everywhere main tiden and not dela online application hulienila main nation of Saskatchewan register it now and then again Holline look no and then see so and nowadays that you see some bound la sinunt are the more registered at a jare, a tamba basa untala, even in provincial election, it asalt undala ya, you know, hey, dena desin voted at jail day, tlahabana no dea, and nights and as we got to keep that in mind. Don't you see election basa day? So no as can is 1629 begere register o and then November 5th and 6th is it online voting. So get out and register. Must see chona her soon doing zinigas her I think Gabiti I'm gonna be live again. Taylor Belanger Julia Healing Lodge in the north new Aganadra. So I think I'm gonna be Yibahalyas Tiha sometime tomorrow afternoon, I think, or evening uto. So stay tuned for that. I how must see chona ho soon salotina. Dun zinega teu tezu No Askanu, no Atikue. I love you. Hada New. Must Cho, see Willis Javier, who should in Taylor's tours. Clearwater River Dene Nation band member at the SQA. How do Zinega Treaty Fort territories? Way down south in Nizen. Home of the Cree, Métis, Sioux, Assiniboine, Dakota, Lakota. All beautiful indigenous people. Have a good night. Take care.